Hey, welcome to Rob Paints Models. This is Let's Paint Flash Gitz. This is episode 4, the Squig. First up, you're going to need to mask the Squig off. I've used an old rubber glove here and some tape. Just poke a hole in the rubber glove, poke the Squig through, jobs are good. And we're going to base coat it with VMA Burnt Umber, just to cover up all of the overspray from all the previous steps. And we're going to be painting our Squig orange. We want a nice warm tone as our base colour. Now we're going to do a pre-shade highlight with Ushabti Bone. This is essentially just a zenithal highlight which we're going to use as a pre-shade for the next step. Now we're going to paint over all of the stuff that we've done now with Troll Slayer Orange. Oranges are always very translucent paints, so this works brilliantly over a pre-shade because we still get all of the dark recesses and the highlighting comes through really easily in just one coat. Now I'm just going to do a few little spot highlights with Cadian Flesh Tone, hitting up the top of the head, the knees, the mouth and the tip of the tail. So here we go, with all the masking removed, you can see this is our base orange tone that we're going for. First step, wash all of that with Brightland Flesh Shade. This isn't thinned down, this is straight from the pot. Just make sure it doesn't pool on any of the flat surfaces too much. Now the shade is dry and I've also gone through and I've painted the teeth and the claws the same way that I painted the teeth on the captain there. So now we're going to do a little edge highlight with Cadian Flesh Tone. This is mostly around the eyelid, the lips, a little bit on the tip of the tail and down the spine, I guess? Do Squigs have a spine? I don't know. It looks like a spine. Now we're going to base coat the eyeball with Celestra Grey. This will take a couple of coats to cover because we're going to thin our paint down so we get a nice smooth base coat here. Now we're just going to do a little highlight in the middle of the eye with Ulthuan Grey. This is to accentuate the roundness of the eye. It's such a big eye, we want it to look really round. And if we left it as one flat colour, then it wouldn't look round at all. Mostly hitting up the top edge of the eye and towards the middle. leaving the bottom edges of your eye the base celestial grey colour. Now we're going to use a glaze of Araman Blue, and as you can see there, this is incredibly thin. And we're just going to glaze from the middle of the eye out to the edges. This is to make the eye appear, well, blue basically. It's to give us a blue eye, just like the box paint job. But we're gonna use glazes here rather than a single colour in order to try and make the eye look more round. The trick is to use very thin paint, pull the pigment towards the place where you want it to be the darkest, and always let every layer dry between applications. It only takes a couple of passes to build the colour up to the point where you want it, because you don't want it to be too blue. And the reason we're using blue is because blue is a complementary colour to orange. It's opposited on the colour wheel. And Araman Blue is just this really nice kind of sweet spot between blue and green. I really love this colour. I'm super into this colour at the moment. Now we're going to use some Reichland Flesh Shade, and we're just going to kind of work this into the corners of the eye where the tear ducts would be. Which, if you look at your eye in a mirror, you'll see that it's kind of pinkish, pinky orangish into the corners of your eyes. And we're also going to just run this gently around the eyelid, around the eye, just to create a bit of separation. Next we're going to use some very thin Mephiston Red, and very, very carefully paint in some veins into the corners of the eye. Some blood vessels, not veins. This is an entirely optional step, but I decided to do it anyway. Trick here is to have a very fine point on your brush and very thin paint. I'm doing this with a Winsor & Newton Series 7 size 1. Mostly because I didn't have a size 0 at the time. If I had a size 0 now, I'll probably use that. But this is proof here that you can do these fine details with a big-ish brush, and it's just about how stiff your tip is. Ooh, Now, confession time. The crosshair on the Squig's eye is a decal. That's right, I cheated. I didn't paint it by hand. I couldn't paint something that round perfectly by hand. So there will be a link on the end screen to my how to apply decals video, because it's the exact same technique. And if you want to use a decal yourself, which I highly recommend you do because it's just so much easier. The decal I used on this specific model that you can see here was off the Imperial Knights transfer sheet, but it's the old one that was A4 in size that Games Workshop don't make anymore. But do not fret. The current Space Ork transfer sheet that Games Workshop sell has loads of these crosshairs designs on them. Just at the bottom, I'll throw that up on screen so that you can see it. Just at the bottom, what looks like kill markings, there's loads of crosshairs there in lots of different colours, and one of those is really easy to get off the decal sheet and apply, and it's about the right size. And it's transparent in the middle, which is the most important part. So I'd recommend that. That whole decal sheet is amazing for orcs. If you have an orc army, I completely recommend you get this. Even if you're not going to use it immediately, these decal sheets always end up selling out and they never bring them back. So it's worth picking these things up if you're going to have a big army of these guys. And quite frankly, painting freehand on an entire army, it's a nightmare. Don't even try. Freehand is for display models only. If you want to have markings on your stuff, use decals. It's the sensible option. That's the last video in this series. You should now know everything you need to know on how to paint Flashgitz. Possibly the noisiest, most garish and detail-filled orc kit that there is in existence right now. I have some constructive criticism for myself. Number one, I should have painted the bionics on his arm, not gold but black, and I'm tempted to go back and repaint that myself later. I should not have assembled anywhere near as much of this model together as I did, because it would have been so much easier if I had the red casing there of the gun separate, so I could paint that with an airbrush. I wouldn't have had to go back and base coat everything black, which, if you know anything, base coating is actually the most tedious and longest part of painting a miniature, which is why I try to use an airbrush for as much of it as possible. Leaving the shoulder pads off would have also been a big help. I could have painted them separately. Leaving the head off would have made it a lot easier to paint his eyes because his sword arm kept getting in the way, which made that much harder to do. Other than that, I'm quite happy with the kit. Initially, I didn't think they sat well amongst the rest of my orcs, which all use a red and black colour scheme. The flashes of yellow and purple from the Flashgitz really made them kind of sit out as this big kind of obnoxious lump in my arm, and my brain was going, they don't belong there. And then I realised, that's the point. They don't belong, they're freebooters. They're mercenaries, they're not supposed to be there, they're just there because someone paid them to be. And they're Flashgitz, so they're flashy. So they've really grown on me since I painted them. I go through this process where I hate the thing that I just painted, and then about 2 to 3 weeks later I look at it and go, I really like that. That's a really good model. I did a good job. It's completely natural to hate the thing that you just painted because you can see all the mistakes, you know everything that's wrong with it, but just give it a few days and you'll come round. That's it. I'll be doing more of these Let's Paint videos. The next videos should be going up next week, and it'll be Let's Paint Shadespire. And during that series, it's going to start off with the Stormcast Eternals that are in the core set. Then I'm doing Garrick's Blood Reavers. And then there will be a gap as I paint Necromunda. And then I will resume the Shadespire series after doing Necromunda to paint the Orc Iron Jaws, and then the Sepulchral? The Skeletons. I'll be painting the Skeletons after them. And that's my current plan. I've also got a small side project for Necromunda going on, where I'm trying to build a unit of Adeptus Arbites. But I'm currently still in the process of converting those models up, and I need to get my hands on some Vanguard heads from the Adeptus Mechanicum Skitari kit, and they're sold out just everywhere. So at this point I may end up having to just buy a Skitari kit and build them all as rangers and then just keep their heads, or just take the heads and sell the rest of the kit. I don't know what to do with that yet. If you have them, let me know. That's it though. That's it for this series. I hope you enjoyed it. If these videos helped you paint your orcs, then please let me know. I would love to see all of your painted models. Just, you can tweet them and such on the socials in the video on the screen. It's probably about here. If not, it'll be a bit later. And that's it. Yeah, do all the YouTube stuff. Like, share, and subscribe, and click the bell so the bell is clicked. That's it. Bye.